Harry Potter, the boy who lived, Hogwarts dropout, vanquisher of the Dark Lord, and master of Expelliarmus. Harry Dresden, private investigator, reluctant warden of the White Council, troublesome winter knight, and the only Chicago resident that you're going to find in the phone book under wizard. Two iconic wizards named Harry, distinct from each other, or are they?
The Belated Binge Podcast.
Hi, and welcome to Belated Binge. I'm Zach, former radio host and lifelong sports fan, discovering the magic of urban fantasy. And today, we are going to explore the surprising amount of similarities between the most iconic wizards named Harry in the fictional world, allegedly. Spoiler warning for both Harry Potter and the Dresden Files. So let me set the scene for a minute. Those of you that have been a part of this community for a long time might have noticed that I've been MIA for a bit. And over the time that I've been hanging out, just doing life, I have become obsessed with the Dresden Files. And one day I got to thinking about the two wizards named Harry and what similarities I was starting to notice as I was reaching the end, or not really the end, but catching up to the Dresden Files. And not surprisingly, I thought that there would be some, because they are both protagonists in urban fantasy worlds. They have this hero identity to them. And I was like, yeah, it would make some sense. There are at least some parallels in these two stories that these two characters would share some similarities. I expected to maybe think of like 4 or 5. When I got to around 20, I thought maybe I should start writing some of these down. And so that's what I did, and we're going to talk about some of them right now. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And if you are listening on a podcast app, please follow and leave a review, please. All right, let's do the thing. So we have the obvious. They are both wizards. They are both named Harry. But also, they were orphaned at a young age. They were betrayed by someone close to them. Their mothers died protecting them. Both mothers were killed by villains that we would later see in the series, those deaths providing some sort of lasting protection for them. Both are some sort of chosen one that's the subject of a prophecy type of a thing at their birth. Both have some pretty substantial plot armor, I might add, and they're consistently outclassed in experience and ability, and yet they continue to survive in their respective series. Both have trusty animal sidekicks. Both end up with scars on their faces, which, that's a little bit cheap, I guess, but both also have powerful old mentors that turn out to be keeping secrets from them. Both are driven by a similar intrinsic need to do the right thing. Both have a hero complex. Both are willing to cross the line to protect the people that they care about, or just protect people in general. Both go against their governing bodies to do what's right. Both spend time ostracized by said governing bodies. Both go through the bouts with anger issues that move the plot forward at a certain point in time. Both develop bonds with found family and chosen family. Both are accepted into actual loving families. Both have ride or die best bro sidekick characters. Both have an almost too bad ass to be allowed female side character. Both self-sacrifice for what they believe is the greater good. Both come back from the dead after spending time in limbo and having a discussion with some all-knowing type of character. And both go through the whole series while only doing 2 spells. So there's a few, right? So that's not even all the ones that I found, or at least some that have been brought to my attention. I've been posting some of these on social media here recently, and some of the comments that people have left have pointed out even more similarities that I may not have noticed, or frame them in a different way that I'm going to share later on in this. But I wanted to actually explore some of that gigantic list that I just ran through with you. So going back to the beginning where they were, you know, at their beginnings, both of them were orphaned at a young age. Harry Potter was orphaned when Voldemort killed his parents as a baby, and Harry Dresden's mother was killed by an entropy curse, giving birth to him. And then his father raised him until he was like 6 years old or so, and he died. It was supposed to look like natural causes, but I think we have some reason to believe potentially maybe that was not fully the case. There might have been something else going on that we don't quite know yet as we are through Battleground, or maybe there's even been more hints that I even missed because I don't pretend to be some kind of expert on this literature. I only enjoy it and like to talk about it, and these parallels were fun to make. But if you have, and I think also there's something in the just awful TV show that was made about the Dresden Files that definitely makes his dad's death very much not natural causes. But I don't know if Jim Butcher had influence on that, and maybe it is going to come up later more about how his father died. So I'm leaving the door open on that at the very least. But both of these kids grew up orphans from at least like the age of 6 at best. Both of them were betrayed by someone close to them during their series. So we have for Harry Potter, Peter Pettigrew betrayed his parents and was the one that gave up their location to Voldemort, even though he was supposedly best friends with Harry's dad. And also, later on in the series, because that one's a little bit more, it directly impacts Harry, but the betrayal itself is indirect to Harry, right? It's more a betrayal of Harry's parents. So let's go to maybe, I don't know, Barty Crouch Jr. posing as fake Moody and becoming a like mentor to Harry in the Goblet of Fire, just to find out that he's been a fake the whole time and he's been the one that's been trying to steer Harry to his clash with Voldemort and lead him to his death. That seems like a bit of a betrayal for someone close to you, I think. So Harry Dresden has Justin Demorne, who is the one that takes him in as a kid after his dad passed away, and he was his apprentice. And the idea there was for Harry to have somebody to look after him, a guardian who takes his best interest and also teaches him how to use his magic. And it turns out he's really actually trying to raise him and influence him into using black magic. And when Harry tries to get away, he sets an outsider demon after him. So that feels like a pretty big betrayal. Sticking to when they were kids and going back to the orphan part, we've got a very compounding similarity when it comes to their mothers in particular, because both of the mothers in these series died protecting Harry's. For Harry Potter, it was Lily, who was quite literally standing in front of him and sacrificing herself to Voldemort, even though she was the only one that actually had a choice in the matter and could have walked away, and she chose not to. And Harry Dresden's mother, as I mentioned, died. Maggie LeFay is her name, by the way. Died while giving birth to Harry, and was trying to outrun her past and her decisions and some of the allies that she had made and crossed over the years, so that Harry could get a more safe and normal life. Didn't quite work out that way. But both of those mothers were also, those deaths actually came from villains that we meet later in the series. Obviously, Lord Voldemort is the one who directly kills Lily Potter. But for Maggie LeFay, she was killed by an entropy curse, which is basically like the worst luck ever type of a curse directed at you. And that entropy curse came from Lord Wraith, who turns out to be the head of the White Court of Vampires and her ex-lover and father of one of her children that we haven't got to yet in this particular video, and who she had tried to escape, and he was the one that killed her. And Dresden ends up going up against him later in the series. And with those deaths, both of them had some kind of lasting protection that was um, that was, I guess, allowed to happen, or that was, pushed to happen um, because of those deaths. So for Lily Potter, that sacrifice that she made for Harry is what was able to protect Harry against Voldemort when he was a baby and Voldemort tried to kill him. And it's also what Dumbledore was able to leverage when he was able to place that charm over the Dursleys' house, um, to make that protection of Lily's last until Harry became an adult. For Maggie LeFay and Harry Dresden, she actually used in that series what is called a death curse. So basically, a final outburst towards somebody at the moment of a wizard's death, and she aimed hers at Lord Wraith, particularly to stop him from being able to feed while her sons are alive. And that inability to feed is essentially what allows him to be overthrown and defeated by Harry when he's trying to kill Harry's half brother Thomas. And by the way, Harry gets quite the assist in that regard by Lara Wraith, Thomas's older sister and another daughter of Lord Wraith's. So it all is this like compounding, snowballing similarity of these mothers dying to protect their kids, and that protection being what ultimately allows them to overcome those villains in the series. For Harry Potter, it's very much the thing, that love protection, that love magic, the power the Dark Lord knows not, is kind of a huge deal in defeating him at the end too. So these are big deaths, obviously. Both are some sort of chosen one that are subject to some kind of a prophecy. Obviously, as I mentioned, Harry Potter, the power that the Dark Lord knows not, the one that is able to vanquish the Dark Lord, who will mark him as his equal, and all of that literal prophecy about Harry Potter. For Harry Dresden, he's something that's called Starborn, which, if I'm understanding it correctly, at this point in the series through Outsiders, we haven't actually gotten a full description or a explanation of all of which that entails. But essentially, he was born when the stars align, and it allows him additional powers, such as like being able to defeat outsiders, or not be able to be like penetrated by outsiders. So we'll see how all of that plays out, particularly with like Nemesis and where the story is going. Both of these characters, as we get into some of the kind of the funner, less deep, because some of these have been kind of heavy, both of them have substantial plot armor. They are consistently outclassed in experience, in ability, in wisdom, in power, and yet they're able to survive somehow. Harry Potter is literally never in Voldemort's class magically. He ends up winning because of the actions of others and what they've done around him, as well as a technicality with the Elder Wand. And for Harry Dresden, he's always talking about how he's in way over his head all the time for one reason or another, even to the point where, he's thinking, nope, this is it. I can't get through this. This isn't going to happen. And yet he somehow manages to win or get away in whatever situation that is, even to the point where he was able to imprison a freaking Titan. So, yeah, sometimes plot. Both Harrys have trusty animal sidekicks. For Harry Potter, we have Hedwig, who captured the love and affection of an entire generation. And for Harry Dresden, we have Mouse, his dog, who turns out to be a temple dog and have his own powers of protection, and he is awesome. And of course, we cannot forget and will not forget Mister, who is the OG trusty animal sidekick for Dresden, because he has been there from the beginning, and he is his gigantic tomcat. And yeah, both of them end up with scars on their faces, which is not the most compelling similarity at all, but it's still true. Both of them have old, powerful mentors who turn out to be keeping some sort of secret from them. And this is one that has layers, and so we're not going to spend 20 minutes digging into just this thing, but Dumbledore for Harry Potter is literally raising Harry and prepping him to defeat Voldemort by sacrificing himself in order to kill the unintended Horcrux that's inside of Harry. Raising as a pig for slaughter, as some might say. And that's a kind of a big secret for your elderly mentor to keep from you. For Harry Dresden, he has his own version in Ebenezer McCoy, who is the one who takes him in after he's able to kill Justin Demort and get away from him and not get killed by the outsider that was after him. And it turns out McCoy is actually the Blackstaff assassin for the White Council of Wizards. He was ordered by the White Council to murder Harry if he stepped a single toe out of line while he's under Ebenezer's care, his mentorship, his always seeing eyes. Oh, and by the way, he's also Harry's grandfather and doesn't bother to tell him some pretty serious secrets being held by Ebenezer. Both of these Harrys have also very, very similar traits at their core, right? They're both driven by a similar, just intrinsic need to do the right thing and have this hero complex. Both of them are called out by, other characters in the series, sometimes multiple times, that they have these like saving people things. And both of them are willing to cross the line to protect people and to do that. Remember when Harry Potter used an unforgivable curse on one of the Carrows because they spit in McGonagall's face? Yeah, that's crossing a line. How about when Harry Dresden worked with a fallen angel, or when he took on the mantle of the Winter Knight in order to protect other people? The Winter Knight thing in particular, like, that was to save his daughter he didn't know he had until the day before. So he's absolutely willing to go over the line, and both of them are willing to go over the line, even if that means going up against their governing bodies, if that's what's in the way of them doing the right thing. And it leads both of them to spend time being ostracized by those governing bodies. For Harry Potter, the Ministry of Magic, particularly in Order of the Phoenix, literally set out a smear campaign against him, including trying to rig a trial to have him expelled in a way that he wouldn't have any of his allies present when he was being sentenced and questioned and the court hearings were happening, even though he's a child. Everything was manipulated around him to try to corner him and force him out of Hogwarts, essentially, as a child. And similarly, with the White Council, for Harry Dresden, multiple times they are blaming him for things that he didn't do, and they try to railroad him several times, even after he has the doom of Damocles lifted, like when they tried to manipulate him into an attack so that they could use it as an excuse to sacrifice him to the Red Court of Vampires, or when they accused him of being Black Council, the mole, or when they set up his trial to revoke his wizard status, and all of the people that would have his back are literally in the midst of a war that's taking place, and yet they still have the vote when none of his allies can be there. They always try to do something to him while rigging the system against him, which ultimately allows them to kick him out and remove his official status as wizard by the end of Battleground. Never mind the fact that he just saved the world and imprisoned said Titan while fighting alongside and saving the asses of his other members of the White Council. But hey, whatever. Both of them also go through some bouts of anger issues that moves the plot forward. In particular, Harry Potter had the whole Order of the Phoenix book where he was dealing with anger issues and the fallout of what had happened at the end of Goblet of Fire with Voldemort coming back. And Harry Dresden, he has his anger issues that are like brought to his attention, particularly by Murph. And it seems to align with when Lash became present. It's like he was going through this slow burn of becoming just angrier and angrier and angrier and angrier until he realized that it was probably her presence and influence doing that. Both of them develop bonds with found and chosen family. For Harry Potter, he's got Hermione and the Weasleys, and in the the DA, and kind of like expanding beyond that, everybody that's in the Order of the Phoenix, like they kind of become this chosen family entity and group for him, and support that he doesn't have as an orphan. And for Harry Dresden, he's got Thomas, his actual half brother. He's got Murphy. He's got the Alphas. He's got the Carpenters, and he has Ebenezer McCoy. Both of them, as a part of that, are also accepted into actual loving families. For Harry Potter, he has the Weasleys, who he actually marries into. And for Harry Dresden, he's got the Carpenters, who are willing to take in his daughter and take care of her at any time that he possibly needs. He is the mentor, and has Molly, their daughter, as his apprentice. And together they're also wielding mantles of winter at this moment, and so there's this interconnection and acceptance that he's kind of the honorary Carpenter. Both of them have ride or die best bro side characters. For Harry Potter, we've got Ron Weasley, who is the definition of a bro to Harry. He's insanely loyal. He's there through thick and thin, despite a few of the rough patches that happen along the way. And for Dresden, he's got his half-brother Thomas that he discovers later into the series, who's also a vampire of the White Court and is insanely loyal to Harry, and there for him no matter what, despite the rough patches that are brought on by his literal inner demon. So we've got best bros with inner demons kind of coming out of the woodwork for both of our Harrys, and both of our Harrys have that almost too badass to be allowed female sidekick character. For Harry Potter, it's Hermione Granger. She is Muggle-born and ridiculously intelligent. She knows every spell, and she is the brightest witch of her age. And for Harry Dresden, he's got Karen Murphy, the 5'0" female cop who is ridiculously tough. She knows every self-defense or martial art that seems to exist in the world, and is a complete dead-eye shot with any firearm. And we will never forgive Rudolph. Ever. Because we're now without the one pure, just like vanilla human, call it, that has been able to hold her own in the face of all the supernatural threats that have been, there. And she obviously represents such an important relationship to Dresden, the fallout of which is probably going to be painful. We've only got a few more here. All right, bear with me. Both self-sacrifice for what they believe is the greater good. And this is a big one in the series, right? So Harry Potter, he goes into the forest willingly to take Voldemort's killing curse to the chest, intending to die. Harry Dresden arranges his own death following, at the end of Changes, because he has agreed to take on the Winter Mantle and doesn't want to actually do it, but he's going to do anything he has to in order to save his daughter from the Red Court of Vampires. So he arranges for his own self-sacrifice at the end of that book. And in both of these cases, they come back from the dead. Surprise! Both of them spending some time in limbo and having these, kind of important discussions with some all-knowing characters. For Harry Potter, he has that conversation with Dumbledore at the, faux King's Cross station, and Dumbledore kind of lays out everything and is finally honest with him. And he kind of gives him the laydown, or the lowdown of like what the plan has been all along and some of his backstory, and kind of confesses his role in things. And that's what kills the Horcrux inside of Harry and allows him to actually go back and defeat Voldemort for good. For Harry Dresden, he goes through the whole book ghost story as a ghost, gets into shenanigans and whatnot. And then at the end, he has a conversation with the Archangel Uriel. I'm not sure that I can pronounce that correctly. And he kind of gets to the point where he's like, okay, I've got things as set up as I possibly can for the people I care about. And he like goes through the door and he's like, this is going to be it. And ta-da, he's actually still alive. Finally, both go through the whole series only doing 2 spells. This one was thrown in for fun, but it's like actually kind of bonkers how similar it is. It's tongue-in-cheek, obviously, but the joke is that Harry Potter can only do Expelliarmus. It's the only spell he uses, throughout the whole series. He's also gets a lot of praise for his fully fledged Patronus. He does Stupefy too, and he does a few other spells, but obviously there's the running joke. If you're here, you're familiar with it, but Harry Dresden seems to kind of do the same thing. He uses Fuego to make fire, or Forzari to make like a kinetic wind type of energy, and those 2 spells are pretty much his go-to in any like adversarial situation. It's kind of insane how similar it is that they have their 2 relied upon spells that are just their ultimate go-to in those moments. So those are the ones that I came up with, and this was not meant to be an exhaustive list. It was really just meant to be fun. And I wanted to share some of the fun comments that I've gotten on social media as well. Caldosaurus on TikTok said both of them are wizard cops or become wizard cops, which is totally true. Harry Potter becomes a, what do they call them? Aurors. And Harry Dresden is a warden of the White Council for a while. And there's Caldosaurus also mentioned that there is some parallel between the war with the Death Eaters as well as the war with the Red Court. And both of them, this is the one that I found most interesting that Caldosaurus brought up, is that both of them were born on the last day of the month at the end of a season. Harry Potter was born on July 31st, so heading into summer, I guess. And Harry Dresden was born on Halloween, October 31st, so end of fall. So that's a pretty cool parallel that I didn't catch myself. Tammy on TikTok also brought up that there were old wizards who didn't tell them the truth, so she caught that one that I had in my list as well. And Barrelhead Blacksmith on TikTok said they both lived in confined spaces, which, yeah, we got the cupboard under the stairs, and then Harry Dresden had his little basement apartment, particularly his tiny lab underneath it that he becomes so attached to. But those are fun. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and comment the last name of your favorite magic-wielding Harry. Is it Potter or Dresden? And for everyone else, remember, life is short, buy the wand, wear the cloak, muffliato the haters, fuego your demons, and always tap the little radio using password Belated Binge.